Welcome to CalCPA's Brain Food Bytes. My name is Jason Fox. I'm the Vice President of Advocacy and Public Affairs for CalCPA. As we've heard in the profession for some time now, the demand for CPA services is outpacing the number of CPAs entering the profession, which is certainly good from a profession standpoint in the marketplace, but we know that also creates strain on those already in the marketplace and their clients and really the public interest. And so to tackle this challenge, the profession's been working with regulatory stakeholders nationwide and certainly here in California to figure out how do we attract and retain CPA candidates to really ensure that there's enough qualified professionals to support the businesses, governments, capital markets, and all the individuals that rely on CPA services. We know this is not an easy challenge. Workforce and pipeline challenges are complex, and they're going to require multifaceted solutions from all different stakeholders. However, over time, I think people realize that one of the critical components to how we tackle this problem is really going to be how do we address the time and cost pressures associated with meeting the education requirements for licensure. And this is where Assembly Bill 1175 comes in. AB 1175 is a California piece of legislation that's authored by Assemblywoman Jackie Irwin and is sponsored by the California Board of Accountancy and supported by CalCPA. AB 1175 is really the product of well over a year's work led by the California Board of Accountancy to really evaluate the current licensure requirements and identify ways where we can potentially modernize them, make adjustments so that the licensure requirements better reflect the current realities that we're facing from a profession standpoint and then the consumer demand. So this bill really seeks to modernize CPA licensure requirements by essentially creating more inclusive, flexible, affordable licensure pathways for aspiring CPAs, while also balancing the necessary consumer protection provisions to ensure that the profession remains that trusted voice in the marketplace. So under AB 1175, an aspiring CPA candidate would need to earn a bachelor's degree with an accounting concentration, pass the uniform CPA exam, and complete 2 years of general accounting experience. Importantly, for added flexibility, a candidate may substitute a specified master's degree or an accounting certificate program, post-baccalaureate accounting certificate program, for up to 1 year of the required experience. And really, this is intended to provide candidates with multiple options to kind of map out the pathway to licensure that fits them best. Another key piece to the bill relates to CPA mobility. So to help facilitate the changes in the licensure process and minimize the disruptions for those currently working in the profession, AB 1175 updates CPA mobility program, which is essential to allow CPAs to serve clients effectively across state lines and meet consumer demands. Making these mobility enhancements is critical to help facilitate the licensure changes as California and other states look at their licensure changes at the same time. Not everyone's going to be lined up on the same timeline, and so we want to make sure that we can continue to work across state borders as we make important licensure changes. The modernization approach in AB 1175 has really become the model for how other states have approached this. Several other states are working respectively with their state boards of accountancy and their state CPA societies and other stakeholders to make similar changes, embracing many of the concepts in AB 1175. And you also see that the Uniform Accountancy Act, which is a key national kind of guideline that states look to kind of for guidance on how they structure their accountancy acts, is also embracing some of the concepts of AB 1175. So what California is doing is certainly right in line with the rest of the nation, and in many ways is actually helping lead these efforts to kind of tackle some of these pipeline workforce challenges the profession's facing. So what are the next steps for AB 1175? Well, the bill is going to work its way through the legislative process, just as any other piece of legislation will. We'll have policy committee hearings throughout the spring and the summer. And should the bill be signed into law this fall, the mobility provisions will take effect January 1, 2026, and the licensure provisions would take effect July 1, 2026. Now, an important piece is to understand is that to help with the transition to the current to new licensure model, the current licensure provisions will stay in effect until January 1 of 2029. And really this is to help for those that are kind of already in the process from a licensure standpoint to be able to kind of work under the plans they already had mapped out. Concurrent to the legislative process, the Board of Accountancy, working with CalCPA and others, is working from a regulatory standpoint to kind of flesh out some of the specifics that are necessary to implement AB 1175. And some of those pieces that we'll be working through and you'll hear more about in the coming months is kind of redefining what is that definition of an accounting concentration, what specific master's degrees or certificates are going to be appropriate to offset some of the experience requirements. We don't have all those answers, the board doesn't have those answers, but we're going to be working kind of through that process. And really that's intended to do some of the detailed work while the legislation moves forward. So once the legislation is signed into law, we're ready to go with the regulatory requirements necessary to get it moving forward. Lastly, we know there's going to be a lot of questions and there's going to be a lot of need for guidance from students, academics, firm leaders on what does this transition mean, what do the new requirements mean, how do I best navigate it. So we're working with the Board of Accountancy on resources, FAQs, other guidance that are going to be helpful for you to tackle AB 1175 and better understand what those are. So keep an eye on CalCPA's website and the Board of Accountancy's website. We've both created resources that are going to continue to evolve and change as this moves forward that speak a lot to what's in AB 1175 and the different kind of questions and guidance that you'll need. We'll put a link to those resources here in the video. And so please continue to follow CalCPA and the Board of Accountancy on this important legislation. Thank you for joining us.